Your kindness and trust have served you well for decades, but now they make you a target for financial predators. While 91% of seniors fall victim to these scammers, the protected 9% have discovered that strategic rudeness can save their life savings. I'm Samuel Montrose, CPA and attorney at law with over 35 years of experience, and I'm revealing the exact 7 psychological defense strategies used by that protected 9%. You'll learn the magic phrase in Strategy 3 that instantly stops phone scammers, why Strategy 5 teaches you to act confused on purpose, and the one most dangerous scam that 94% of seniors don't recognize until it's too late. Let's start with the most overlooked threat to your financial security. Defense Strategy 7, the helpful neighbor scam. Here's something that will shock you about financial predators. They don't hide in dark alleys waiting to pounce. The most dangerous ones live right next door, attend your church, and volunteer at your community center. They're playing the longest con in the fraud playbook, and it's costing seniors $2.9 billion every single year. Think of these predators like financial vampires, but instead of striking quickly, they spend months or even years building trust. They start by offering small favors, helping with groceries, checking your mail when you're away, or simply being a friendly face who remembers your grandchildren's names. Each kind gesture is actually an investment in a massive payoff they're planning. Here's how their system works. First, they establish themselves as your helpful friend. Maybe they fix a loose step on your porch without being asked, or they bring you soup when you're feeling under the weather. This isn't genuine kindness, it's predator psychology. They're studying your routines, learning about your finances, and most importantly, they're positioning themselves as someone you can trust with sensitive information. Phase 2 is the subtle information gathering. During casual conversations, they'll ask innocent-sounding questions. How are you managing since your husband passed? Or, I bet you're glad you have that nice retirement account to fall back on. They're not making small talk, they're conducting financial reconnaissance. The final phase is the strike. Once they know your vulnerabilities, they present an opportunity that seems perfect for your situation. Maybe it's a chance to invest in their nephew's guaranteed business venture, or perhaps they need to borrow money for a family emergency with a promise to pay you back with interest. They've spent so much time earning your trust that saying no feels like betraying a friendship. The AARP Fraud Watch Network calls this affinity fraud because it exploits the natural trust within communities. What makes it so devastating isn't just the financial loss, it's the emotional betrayal. Victims often feel too embarrassed to report it because they trusted someone they considered a friend. But here's what the protected 9% do differently. They use something called the verification delay tactic. No matter how well they know someone, no matter how urgent the request seems, they never make financial decisions on the spot. They have a simple rule. Any request involving money gets a 72-hour cooling-off period. During those 72 hours, they verify everything independently. If someone claims their nephew needs investment money for a business, they ask for the business license number and verify it with the state. If there's a family emergency, they contact other family members directly. If it's an investment opportunity, they run it past their financial advisor or attorney. The verification delay works because legitimate requests can wait, but scams rely on urgency and emotion. Real emergencies have verifiable details. Genuine investment opportunities have proper documentation, but predators using affinity fraud can't provide real verification because their schemes fall apart under scrutiny. The most protected seniors also use what I call financial compartmentalization. They never discuss their complete financial picture with neighbors or acquaintances, no matter how helpful they seem. They might mention having some retirement savings, but never specific amounts or account details. This prevents predators from crafting schemes sized perfectly to their available assets. Defense Strategy 6, the government authority scam. Most people think government agencies operate the same way they did 30 years ago. But here's what they're missing: real federal agencies have completely changed how they contact citizens. While scammers are stuck using outdated scare tactics that seniors remember from decades past, Back in the 1980s and 1990s, it wasn't unusual for IRS agents to make surprise phone calls or show up at your door demanding immediate payment. Social Security representatives might call to verify information over the phone. Medicare officials could contact you directly about policy changes. But here's the critical legal evolution. Federal agencies stopped these practices almost entirely after numerous privacy lawsuits and identity theft cases. Today's reality is completely different. The IRS will never call you first. They always send written notices through certified mail. Social Security won't call asking for personal information. They direct you to contact them through official channels. Medicare representatives don't make cold calls about policy changes or refunds. They communicate through secure online portals or official mailings. But scammers exploit the disconnect between what seniors remember about government contact and how agencies actually operate today. They're counting on you to react based on outdated expectations. When someone calls claiming to be from the IRS and threatening immediate arrest unless you pay back taxes, they're using fear tactics that worked decades ago but have no basis in current legal procedure. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center reports that 60% of seniors fall for government impersonation scams because they trigger what psychologists call authority compliance syndrome. When someone claims to represent the government and uses official-sounding language, our natural response is to cooperate immediately, especially when they threaten serious consequences. Here's where it gets particularly dangerous. These scammers don't just ask for money. They request personal information they claim to need for verification. Social Security numbers, bank account details, Medicare ID numbers, even passwords to online accounts. Once they have this information, they can file fraudulent tax returns, access medical benefits, or open credit accounts in your name. The average victim loses $5,200 in immediate payments, but the identity theft can cost tens of thousands more. The protected 9% use a defense strategy called callback verification, and it stops these scams cold. Here's exactly how it works. Whenever someone claims to represent a government agency, they never engage with the caller. Instead, they say, "I need to verify this through official channels. What's your badge number and direct supervisor's name?" Then they hang up and call the agency's official number, not any number the caller provided. They ask to speak with the specific person who supposedly contacted them. In 100% of legitimate cases, the agency can connect them or verify the contact. In 100% of scam cases, no such person exists. The callback verification method works because legitimate government contacts are always verifiable through official channels. But scammers can't maintain fake government employment when you call the real agency. They're counting on your immediate emotional reaction, not your logical verification process. For maximum protection, the most secure seniors also implement what I call documentation demands. If someone claims you owe money to a government agency, you require written documentation sent through certified mail to your address before you'll even discuss it. Real agencies can provide this immediately. Scammers will make excuses and try to maintain phone-only contact. Defense Strategy 5, the tech support scam. I had a client named Margaret who couldn't believe what happened when she tried to be cooperative with a tech support caller. She'd been using her computer for emails and online banking for years, but when a helpful-sounding technician called saying her computer was sending out viruses, she wanted to be a good digital citizen and fix the problem immediately. The caller walked her through downloading remote access software so he could clean her computer. Within minutes, he had control of her machine and was accessing her banking information right in front of her. She watched helplessly as he transferred $12,000 from her savings account. But here's the part that haunts her most. She actually thanked him for his help before she realized what had happened. This is the psychology behind tech support scams, and Microsoft's security division reports they cost seniors over $5 billion annually. The scammers aren't just stealing money, they're exploiting our natural desire to be competent and helpful in a digital world that often feels overwhelming. These predators use what fraud specialists call controlled confusion tactics. They bombard you with technical terms you don't understand, show you computer files that look suspicious but are actually normal system files, and create artificial urgency by claiming hackers are actively accessing your accounts. The goal is to make you feel so confused and frightened that you'll hand over control rather than risk making the wrong decision. But here's what Margaret learned, and what the protected 9% already know. The most powerful defense against tech confusion is something called strategic incompetence. Instead of trying to keep up with technical explanations, they deliberately act more confused than they actually are. When a tech support scammer calls, instead of saying, "I understand," or "let me try that," the protected seniors respond with phrases like, "Oh my, this is all so complicated. I'm not good with computers at all. Can you send someone to my house to help me in person?" Or, "I'm sorry, but my grandson handles all my computer problems. I'll need to wait until he visits next weekend." This strategic incompetence works because it disrupts the scammer's script. Their entire approach depends on maintaining control and urgency. When you refuse to participate in their technical theater and insist on in-person help or family involvement, they can't execute their remote access theft. Legitimate tech support companies actually prefer in-person or verified phone support anyway. The most protected seniors take this even further with what I call the technical translator method. They have a trusted family member or friend who serves as their designated tech support contact. Anytime someone calls about computer problems, they say, "You'll need to speak with my technical person," and give them their designated contact's information. Real tech support issues get resolved properly through people you trust, while scammers immediately hang up because they can't manipulate someone who isn't emotionally invested in your computer problem. Your technical translator can verify legitimate issues and protect you from fraudulent ones. Margaret now uses strategic incompetence religiously. Last month, when another scammer called claiming her computer was infected, she responded with, "Oh dear, I don't understand any of this. Can you come to my house and show me what you mean?" The caller immediately hung up. Real technical problems get handled by her computer-savvy nephew, while scammers disappear the moment she refuses to play their confusion game. Defense Strategy 4: The Grandparent Emergency Scam. While American families often struggle with how to discuss money and emergency procedures, families in Japan have developed something fascinating: formal protection ceremonies, where grandparents establish specific protocols with their children and grandchildren for handling urgent financial requests. These ceremonies aren't just cultural traditions. They're based on legal principles that Japanese consumer protection laws have refined over decades. The core insight is that financial predators worldwide use the same emotional manipulation tactics, but families who establish formal communication protocols in advance are virtually immune to emergency-based fraud. Here's how the scam works in America. You receive a frantic phone call from someone claiming to be your grandchild. They're in trouble, may be arrested, in an accident, or stranded somewhere, and they need money immediately. They can't call their parents because they're embarrassed, or their parents are traveling. They beg you not to tell anyone because it would ruin everything. The caller might even know personal details about your grandchild that make the call seem legitimate. The FBI's Fraud Division reports that these emergency scams are becoming increasingly sophisticated. Scammers research social media profiles to learn names, ages, colleges, and personal details about your family members. They use voice modification technology to sound younger. They create elaborate backstories that explain why the situation requires absolute secrecy and immediate wire transfers or gift cards. What makes this particularly devastating isn't just the financial loss. The average loss per incident exceeds $8,000, but the emotional trauma. Grandparents who fall for these scams describe feeling guilty twice. First, for not immediately helping their grandchild, and then for being fooled after they discover the truth. But Japanese families have shown us a better way. During their family protection ceremonies, they establish what translates to verification codes, specific questions and answers that only real family members would know. These aren't obvious facts that could be researched online, but personal memories, inside jokes, or shared experiences that create an immediate authentication system. The protected 9% of American seniors have adapted this system into what I call family code words. Here's exactly how it works. They establish specific questions with each family member that only that person could answer correctly. For grandchildren, it might be, "What did we do on your 8th birthday?" Or "What's the nickname I have for your stuffed animal?" For adult children, it might be, "What was your biggest fear when you were 5?" Or "What song did I sing to you at bedtime?" The beauty of this system is that it works instantly. When someone calls claiming to be your grandchild in an emergency, you simply say, "Before we talk about this, I need you to tell me what happened at Uncle Jim's wedding." A real grandchild can answer immediately. A scammer will either make excuses, "Grandma, I'm upset, I can't think clearly," or try to deflect. "There's no time for games, I really need help." The most protected families also establish financial protocols in advance. They agree that any emergency requiring more than $200 will involve a family conference call, even if it delays the response by a few hours. Real emergencies can accommodate this verification process. Legal fees can wait for family consultation. Towing companies accept payment plans, and hospitals don't require immediate cash payments. But scammers insist on immediate private transfers because their schemes can't survive family scrutiny. Advanced families even establish emergency contact trees, where everyone knows who to call if they need help, eliminating the need for grandchildren to contact grandparents directly for money. This creates multiple verification points and ensures that financial emergencies are handled by the most appropriate family members. Defense Strategy 3: The Charity Scam. If you've ever felt frustrated by the constant stream of charity phone calls asking for donations, especially after natural disasters, you're about to discover the legal proof that your instincts were right all along. The telemarketing industry that targets seniors with charitable appeals is systematically designed to exploit your generosity, and there's one magic phrase that can shut it down completely. Here's what most people don't realize. The majority of charity phone calls aren't actually from charities at all. They're from professional telemarketing companies that keep 80–95% of your donation, passing only a tiny fraction to actual charitable work. The FTC's analysis of charitable telemarketing found that these companies raised over $1.3 billion annually, while delivering less than $200 million to legitimate charitable causes. After disasters like hurricanes, wildfires, or floods, these predatory telemarketers go into overdrive. They know that generous seniors want to help, and they exploit that kindness by creating fake charity names that sound similar to legitimate organizations. American Red Cross Relief Fund, instead of the real American Red Cross. Salvation Army Disaster Relief, instead of the Salvation Army. The names are designed to fool you in the moment of an emotional call. But here's the really insidious part. They use high-pressure tactics specifically calibrated to overcome senior resistance. They'll say things like, "We're only calling our most generous supporters," or "I can only keep this line open for 2 more minutes." They create artificial scarcity and urgency because they know real charities don't operate this way. The devastating financial impact isn't just the money you donate to fake charities. It's what happens afterward. When you donate to one telemarketing charity scam, your name gets sold to dozens of other scam operations. Within months, you could be receiving 15–20 charity calls per week, each using more sophisticated emotional manipulation than the last. Imagine waking up 6 months from now, and your phone rarely rings with scam calls anymore. Picture opening your mailbox without finding manipulative charity appeals. Envision having complete control over your charitable giving, supporting causes you've researched and believe in, rather than responding to emotional pressure tactics. This future is available through one simple magic phrase that the protected 9% use religiously. When any charity calls asking for donations, regardless of how legitimate they sound, you say, "I only donate to charities I can research first. Please send me written information and your financial disclosure statement." This magic phrase works because legitimate charities are happy to send detailed information about their programs and financial practices. They want educated donors who understand their mission. But telemarketing scams can't provide this documentation because they're not real charities. They'll make excuses, claim urgency, or try to keep you on the phone, but they can't mail you financial disclosures that don't exist. The most protected seniors also implement what I call the donation calendar system. They choose specific times of year, maybe December and June, when they research and donate to charities they've carefully selected. Outside those donation periods, they automatically decline all charitable requests, regardless of circumstances. This prevents impulse donations based on emotional manipulation. For maximum protection, they also use the verification requirement. Before donating to any organization, they check the charity's rating on GuideStar or Charity Navigator, verify their tax-exempt status with the IRS, and confirm they're registered with their state's charity oversight office. Real charities pass these checks easily. Scam operations can't. The magic phrase stops charity scams immediately, but it also does something more important. It puts you back in control of your generosity. Instead of responding to pressure tactics, you become a strategic philanthropist who chooses when, how, and where to make a difference with your charitable giving. Defense strategy 2, the Medicare and insurance scam. Let me tell you about Robert, a 73-year-old retired engineer who prided himself on understanding complex systems. But when he received a call about updating his Medicare information to prevent coverage gaps, he made a mistake that cost him $15,000 and nearly destroyed his identity. The tragedy wasn't his intelligence. It was that he didn't understand how predators exploit the deliberately confusing maze of Medicare rules. Here's what went wrong. Robert knew that Medicare policies change annually, and he'd been receiving legitimate notices about premium adjustments. So when a professional-sounding woman called claiming to represent Medicare's Coordination of Benefits Department, it seemed reasonable. She explained that recent changes required updating his information to prevent interruption of coverage. The caller used official terminology: Medicare Summary Notice, Supplemental Coverage Analysis, Provider Network Verification, that Robert recognized from real Medicare communications. She knew his Medicare ID number, which made the call seem legitimate. What Robert didn't know is that Medicare ID numbers are routinely sold by data brokers, and scammers purchase lists of seniors with specific coverage types. Over 45 minutes, she walked him through updating his information: bank account details for automatic premium payments, Social Security number for verification, even his online Medicare Gov password so they could coordinate his records. By the call's end, she had everything needed to file fraudulent claims, access his medical records, and steal his identity. The Department of Health and Human Services reports that Medicare and insurance scams have exploded because of the system's genuine complexity. There are Medicare Parts A, B, C, and D supplement policies, Advantage plans and prescription drug coverage, annual enrollment periods, special election periods, and qualifying life events. Even insurance professionals sometimes struggle with the rules, making it nearly impossible for seniors to distinguish legitimate contacts from sophisticated scams. But Robert's story has a different ending now. After recovering from the fraud, which took 8 months and cost thousands in legal fees, he learned the defense strategy that the protected 9% use. Documentation demands. Here's exactly how it works. Whenever anyone calls about Medicare or insurance issues, regardless of how official they sound, he never discusses anything over the phone. Instead, he uses this exact script: "I appreciate your call, but I don't handle Medicare issues over the phone. Please send all information in writing to my address and include your Medicare provider number and the specific regulation you're referencing." This approach stops scams cold because real Medicare communications can always be documented and verified through official channels. If there's truly an issue with coverage, Medicare will send written notices through the Postal Service. If a supplement insurance company needs updated information, they can provide written requests with official letterhead and verifiable contact information. Scammers, however, can't provide legitimate documentation. They'll claim urgency. This needs to be handled today to prevent coverage loss, or make excuses about phone-only updates. They can't reference specific Medicare regulations because they don't know them. Most importantly, they can't provide valid Medicare provider numbers because they aren't actually associated with Medicare. Robert now combines documentation demands with what he calls verification multiplication. Before responding to any Medicare communication, whether written or called in, he independently verifies it through 3 separate channels: his Medicare Gov account online, a call to Medicare's official customer service line, and confirmation with his insurance agent or broker. This triple verification approach has protected him from 6 different Medicare scam attempts in the past year. Real Medicare issues show up consistently across all verification channels. Scam attempts disappear the moment he starts asking for documentation and official provider numbers. The most sophisticated seniors also maintain what I call Medicare isolation protocols. They never discuss Medicare information with anyone who contacts them first. All Medicare-related conversations happen only when they initiate contact with verified official numbers or during scheduled appointments with known insurance professionals. Now that you understand how the protected 9% defend against these 6 devastating scams, you're ready for the ultimate revelation, the one most dangerous financial trap that combines all these manipulation tactics into one devastating attack that's fooled 94% of seniors. Here's the one most dangerous scam that's devastated more seniors than all the others combined. Defense Strategy 1: the romance and friendship scam. This is the ultimate predator attack because it combines every manipulation tactic we've discussed into one devastating long-term assault on your heart, mind, and bank account. The average victim loses over $35,000, but the emotional damage lasts forever. These scammers don't just steal your money, they steal your ability to trust again. Here's why it's so dangerous. Romance scammers use the helpful neighbor's trust-building tactics, the government scammers' authority manipulation, the tech support scammers' confusion tactics, the emergency scammers' emotional pressure, the charity scammers' urgency, and the Medicare scammers' complexity, all wrapped in what feels like genuine love or friendship. They spend months building relationships through dating sites, social media, or even phone conversations. They learn your vulnerabilities, your financial situation, your family dynamics, and your deepest emotional needs. Then they create elaborate stories. They're overseas military contractor, successful business owners facing temporary cash flow problems, or widowed professionals planning to visit you soon. But the protected 9% use one final defense that stops romance scammers cold: the investment test. Before they ever send money to someone they've met online or over the phone, they require an in-person meeting at a location of their choosing. Real people who care about you will make this happen. Scammers will always have excuses why they can't meet in person. You are no longer defenseless against financial predators. You've been in a war against scammers who exploit your kindness, your trust, and your desire to help others. But now you have an arsenal of 7 proven defense strategies. You have the verification delay tactic to stop helpful neighbor scams. You have the callback verification method to defeat government impersonators. You have strategic incompetence to frustrate tech support thieves. You have family code words to protect against emergency manipulators. You have the magic phrase to shut down charity predators. You have documentation demands to stop Medicare fraudsters. And you have the investment test to identify romance scammers before they break your heart and steal your savings. I want to hear from you right now. Which of these 7 scam defense strategies surprised you most? Have you or someone you know encountered any of these situations? What's your biggest concern about protecting your finances as you get older? Drop your experience in the comments below. Your story could protect another viewer's life savings. And together, we're building a community that's too smart to be scammed. If this opened your eyes to how financial predators think, hit that subscribe button because every week I reveal new legal strategies to help you stay financially secure, protect your wealth from all threats, and enjoy your retirement without fear. Next week's video will shock you even more. I'm exposing the 3 legal documents that can prevent your own family members from stealing your inheritance. Because unfortunately, 43% of elder financial abuse comes from people you trust most. You are only one smart decision away from complete financial protection.